Welcome everybody to Pinfalls and Passports. My name is Daddy Dom, and for those who don't already know, this is a podcast for people just like you who love the sport of professional wrestling, and for members of our WWE travel community Discord to keep us entertained and engaged during the year leading up to WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. So, if you're not a member of the WWE travel community Discord, come join one of the fastest growing pro wrestling communities online. You can find the Discord invite link in our podcast bio, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Pinfalls and Passports. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about all the fallout from an incredible few nights in France, from SmackDown in Lyon to France's first ever PLE clash in Paris, and Monday Night Raw. And I am delighted to say today I'm joined by my co-hosts Dorkchop and Allie. Hey guys, how you doing?
Pretty good. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us, guys. So, what a weekend we have had. What a treat of wrestling and what a treat of crowds we've had over in France. What do we think about the weekend, guys?
I think it was a great weekend for wrestling. We got a lot of quality matches, and I'm always entertained by the French crowds. They always seem to bring it, as Allie said in last episode, and they give.
They definitely do. They definitely do. I enjoyed it. I think it was a good time. I think it was well produced. So they really got a great series of shows.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a cool arena they have there in Paris. Europe's biggest arena, I believe. I know they had, I think they said they had 30,000 there for Raw tonight, but they had over 40,000, I believe, when they added in all the seating to the floor yesterday. And what a crowd it was, from SmackDown to Clash and then carrying it on into tonight, which may have been one of the best crowds that we've seen on a TV show for quite a while. France taking the mantle away from the UK and perhaps Puerto Rico with regards to having the best international crowd. What do we think, guys?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, just they're singing throughout the entire commercial break with AJ Styles. I mean, alone, it's a treat to watch, and they're just fun to listen to.
Yeah.
I think that definitely when they come to a show, they come to a show and they bring the energy. I think Puerto Rico brings more heart. I could be crazy to say that, but definitely in terms of crowd engagement, I love France. I love watching their stuff.
They were awesome. And yeah, you're right. The AJ sort of sing along tonight, phenomenal. And when the ad break went on, we don't have the ads, thankfully, on Netflix. So what we get is the countdown at the top of the screen of how long the ads are going to be. And it says 3 minutes. And it's already been going about 60 seconds. And I'm thinking, are they going to be able to carry this on for 3 whole minutes? And lo and behold, they did exactly that. Kept that going. Love the energy from the French crowd. Now, we'll get into Raw in a bit, but let's touch briefly on SmackDown. First of all, we're not going to talk about a lot on SmackDown today because a lot of that was sort of covered over on Clash on the PLE, but there were a couple of points I want to just bring up. We had Jade Cargill and Tiffy. Looks like that feud is going to carry on a little bit longer. Jade making it very clear that she is going to destroy Tiffy if she gets a chance to get her hands on her. What do we think about that, guys?
I found that kind of surprising that she would go that route, considering Tiffy's beating her cleanly.
Yeah. We've just seen Jade Cargill have a match with Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton beat her clean in about 7 minutes. That seems to Jade. I mean, I love the confidence, don't get me wrong, but Jade seems to be a little bit overconfident when it comes to say she's gonna kick her ass after what we've just seen. What do you think, Allie?
I think that Jade may need to go for the U.S. Championship for a bit. I don't know if she's ready for a world title, but I have a lot of, in-ring opinions of Jade. I think that Tiffany needs better competitors, or she needs competitors where they can build kind of a progressive storyline. So I get why they're sending Jade back, but it doesn't make any sense since she lost so cleanly at SummerSlam. I agree with you guys.
Yeah, Jade probably isn't ready. And if the last match was anything to go by, WWE certainly don't think she's ready either to take that next step. So it's kind of illogical to match her up, because it would make absolutely no sense whatsoever for Jade now to go into that match. If they do get a rematch, which looks like the way they're going, to then take that title off Tiffy. She can't have improved possibly that much in the best part of 3 weeks, can she? So we'll see. Another feud being set up here is around the women's US title. Julia, whose run has been a little bit so far, but looks like we've got a new contender on the scene in Michin. We saw Michin go up against Kiana James, who we know is the sidekick manager, whatever you like to call her, for Julia. And looks like Julia followed up with the beatdown on Michin. What do we think of Michin's chances of getting one over on Julia and getting that US title away from her?
I don't like her chances. I feel like Michin is kind of a filler, kind of a good first feud for Julia to win. And at first I was a little upset that they had Michin pin Kiana James so quickly. But, she's there as the business attaché, or however you want to classify Kiana. So, I mean, it's a feud, and, good. For Julia, she needs to kind of start, running through the roster, look more dominant. So I'm like, this is a good first feud.
Michin's super reliable as a mid-card feuder. She's always been reliable, great in the ring. She's almost like the Natalia for the mid-card. And so for her to be the first person that is kind of going through this storyline with Julia, I think it makes perfect sense. I also do think that adding Kiana kind of as the manager for Julia was the best case scenario. She needed somebody who had the mic skills in order to help get her over. I just think they need to kind of work on that a little bit more and kind of have more of a direction with the storyline. So I'm okay with Michin being here and winning and beating Kiana clean like that or quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like Michin. I think she's improved leaps and bounds, and we know for sure that she can put on a good match. We definitely know Julia can put on a good match, so it'll be great to see Julia really showcase, I think, what she's capable of on the main banks. I know she's sort of got that title and she's had a few matches and she hasn't lost, but at the same time, I don't think we've really seen the full potential of what we know that Julia is capable of, and perhaps Michin is somebody to work with for Julia that can really open a few eyeballs on the main roster around Julia. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I think that's a good choice. And then the other really big story coming out of SmackDown, the main event, Sami Zayn versus Solo Sikoa. Sammy with his new I am no longer the underdog, I'm not the no-hoper. He's come along, he beats Solo Sikoa against all the odds for the US title. What do we think? Is this Sammy's now? He's got that championship, he's got that US title. Are we going to see Sammy really push on and eventually sort of work his way up toward his dream of being a world champion?
So I'm kind of wasn't Sammy chasing world titles? I was a little bit.
That's what he
perplexed.
said, didn't he? Yeah, that's what he was pretty clear about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a US title, it's a start, eh? You got to work your way up the ranks, I suppose.
It just seemed like either a lateral step or a step backward for me to see him going after a mid-card title like this. But I guess, they need something for him to do until the Royal Rumble.
It's completely lateral. I love Sami Zayn, love him mainly because he's Canadian and, again, reliable in-ring worker. But it's kind of the same problem that I found with Naomi when she was consistently glow. I need there to be some evolution to the character, some progression. And like Dork was saying, wasn't he supposed to be chasing world titles? Where is that progression? Where is that? Where's the storyline that's going to help in kind of solidify him as that dominant character to carry a world championship? I don't see it. So, and I also don't know why Solo needed to lose yet. I think it was too early. It wasn't time. I don't get the decision here.
No, I agree. I don't think he needed to lose it. I don't really know what the plan is. I don't really see Sammy hanging around with this US title for very long.
Yeah.
I don't really see what what they do next with it. Where does this kind of leave the MFTs and the Jacob situation when there's no sort of title on the line? Maybe we get, I don't know, maybe we get a Jacob getting that. Maybe that's a way to get the title back on Jacob, but get it from Sammy and then to leave it to them. I don't know. I don't know how you go about doing that without turning him heel. So yeah, gonna be interesting. Yeah, bit of a strange one there for sure. But hey, Sami Zayn's happy. He's a champion. The French crowd were happy because, you know, Sammy's beloved in every country really, but especially French-speaking ones or Arabic-speaking ones. They love him in all those. So he's got fans all over. So they got a present there for sure of what, aside from that, was a pretty so-so SmackDown. But let's talk about what wasn't so-so. Clash in Paris, France's first ever PLE. They got Clash. The card itself, to me, I think I put it out on there, the Instagram on the other day. You know, this on paper looks like a little bit of a glorified sort of Raw, barely even a Saturday night main event level sort of looking card on paper. Is this going to be a little bit of a sleepy classic? Sometimes when we get these sort of underwhelming looking cards, they come out and we get a banger of a show. I thought we got closer to the banger of the show kind of level. I really, really enjoyed Clash. I thought we had some great matches. It wasn't perfect, but yeah, overall, good showing. What do you think, Dorkchop?
I thought it was a great show, start to finish. I mean, I had zero complaints. I mean, aside from, you know, CM Punk not winning, I thought they started hot. I mean, the first segment did go a little long, but, you know.
Didn't it just?
It was almost an hour. Crazy. But it was a great show.
No, I enjoyed it. And the first segment been an hour. You know, I think we're used to seeing these international PLEs. These kind of mid-level sort of PLEs, especially the international ones. They stick to a pretty specific sort of structure, don't they? They're either 5 or 6 matches, and they generally go pretty much spot on 3 hours. This one did not. And I think it was pretty clear that was going to happen after the first segment lasted an hour. I don't know how they're going to pack the rest of this into 2 hours, and they didn't. This went sort of 4-hour show, so great for the fans. What do you think, Allie? What are your thoughts on the show?
I wasn't mad about the 4-hour show. I like long matches as long as they kind of have a psychological element to them, which I think a couple of the matches did. I will say overall, from start to finish, I didn't really enjoy the PLE. There were definitely matches I liked, but that definitely wasn't going to get above an 8 for me.
An 8? Well, an 8's pretty good.
No,
I like that.
It's not an 8. I just didn't want to be rude yet.
Not above an 8. Yeah.
No.
6.
About that.
Fair enough. Well, what we did see is what I think we probably most of us expected is Roman Reigns to be written off TV for a while. He's been showing his face quite a bit recently, so it must be time for a bit of that holiday allowance to be taken up for Mr. Roman. We got what I think we expected, certainly what I expected at least, you know, a Roman Reigns win, but then a beatdown by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and probably 4 less tsunamis than I was hoping for. I was hoping for 7. We got 3. I was really hoping for 1 when they got him not just on the stretcher, but when they got him on the stretcher on the cart. I wanted to see 1 more on there, and we didn't get that, unfortunately. But either way, he's out indefinitely, according to the WWE medical team, as announced tonight on Raw. What are our thoughts overall on the match?
So the match itself was pretty solid, but it felt like it existed more to serve the post-match angle. It was a pretty brutal beatdown, and, you know, now you can go be Akuma in Street Fighter. So you can, you know, fill this movie and be back in just in time for, I don't know, War Games or something like that.
You think it'll be back that soon, eh? Ali, when do you think we'll next see Roman on TV?
First of all, I never rate a Roman match poorly, so I'll just say that. Second of all, the match in of itself, I thought it was one of Roman's better performances for a B level. I thought that he and Bronson had really good in-ring chemistry, and I thought Bronson should have won and then conducted the beatdown. That's my opinion. I thought the touch of giving away the shoes at the end that were signed was really nice, and I thought the beatdown was not brutal enough. Maybe I'm crazy, but I thought it wasn't brutal enough. I thought we could have had a little bit more edge to it. Somebody else could have come out. Just having Jay come out was kind of like, okay. I thought that they could have done more with that part, but I know it's to write him off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, the Schulafala, let's start with that. I was actually very disappointed that got given, and not just taken back by Roman, but then wasted as he gave it to the crowd. So yeah. I really wanted that Schulafala to be kept. I agree with you, Ali. I thought this was a really great Roman Reigns match. You know, we know what we're getting when we got a Roman Reigns match, right? We're getting this slow pace, we're getting this, but I thought this was one of the better ones. Yeah. I think Bronson really put on a great performance, and I think a lot of that came from Bronson. So I thought it was a really, really entertaining match. I think Reigns was rightly should have been the winner. I think that's sort of how it should have ended. But the Schulafala at the end, I didn't like that. I would have liked them to have kept that. Or if not, at least then, after you've given him the other beatdown, take those shoes. Yeah? Because when he's come on Raw tonight and said he's the tribal thief again, I'm like, well, you haven't got the shoes anymore. So at least if you'd taken his shoes last night, you would have had some more shoes to put around your neck, right?
I would like to say the ones that he wore to the PLE, they're really hard to take off unlace. So I think that's the only reason he didn't walk out with them.
You know what? You know what's actually really hard to unlace, Ali, and how Roman Reigns could have avoided this problem in the first place?
Sure.
If he wore wrestling boots like everybody else.
But then he'd be basic, so.
Basic.
Right, moving on. So we did have a sixth match finally added. This was a little bit last minute. They decided this on SmackDown. I think the card, they felt like they needed one more match. I feel we could have done without it personally, but we got the Wyatt Six versus the Street Profits, because the Street Profits beat, who did they beat on SmackDown?
Melado Miz.
That was it. Melado Miz on SmackDown to get the number one contenders shot. So they went up against Wyatt Six. We did see Gacy and Dexter Lumis defending the titles, and the reason I mentioned that is because I understand, I don't know whether it was one of the European shows, that the actual tag titles were defended using the Freebird rule, and Bo Dallas actually wrestled fighting the tag team. Did you hear that? Did you hear about that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so apparently on one of the international shows the other week, they had a tag title match for the Wyatt Six's tag titles, and it was actually Bo Dallas was wrestling, and they claimed that they were using the Freebird rule in order to use the titles. So that's interesting. So, but they didn't do that here. We had Gacy and Lumis, and it was the numbers game at the end of the day. We saw the Wyatt Six retain. Any thoughts on this match at all?
I mean, I'll be honest, this was my bathroom break match. I caught the tail end of it. I think it makes them look, if they're going to go heel with it, it makes the Wyatt Six look a little bit more sinister and kind of underhanded, instead of like the spooky stuff that they were relying on to get the gimmick over in the first place.
Yeah. This is my issue with, because are the Wyatt Six a heel or are they a face? Because everyone's going to cheer them, and we all know why. Right. Street Profits have been bouncing between heel and babyface quicker than the Big Show in the last 12 months. I don't even know what they are anymore. It was a weird dynamic to have in this match, for sure. Possibly teasing maybe a split here of the Profits as well. Did you see that, Ali? What are your thoughts?
My first thoughts on this match as a whole is not even the French crowd was giving them anything. And if the French crowd's not going to give you anything, then it's just not it. In terms of the Profits split, I think it's time. Montez Ford has so much potential. And Angelo Dawkins would do well on the mid card, but on the world title scene, I think that Ford has the potential to rise. And it's just, things get stale over time, and you kind of have to modify, and they can come back together in the future. But I think for right now, they do need to split a bit.
Yeah, I agree. And what is the point of BFAB? I don't understand why she's there. I don't know what she's doing. She didn't even put on the Borderlands cosplay, for goodness sake. I saw no effort there from BFAB. She could have come as Tiny Tina, right? Surely. She could have been Tiny Tina. At least do something. But no, she just came out in the normal stuff. They're there promoting the Borderlands movie. Or sorry, the Borderlands game. Not the movie. Don't watch that. The Borderlands game that's coming out next week. Something like that. But yeah. Look, I said this on the AEW episode I did with Mira the other day. You look at Kyle Fletcher and how he has evolved since Aussie Open. They decided to sort of move them apart. You know, Kyle Fletcher is now a leading singles competitor and is clearly going to be a leading superstar. We saw this from Montez Ford a couple of years ago, if you remember, when Angelo Dawkins was injured, and they were pushing Montez Ford. They put him in that. Did they put him in the Hell in a Cell match, or was it an Elimination Chamber match, or something like that? Wasn't it?
Elimination Chamber.
Elimination Chamber. Yeah. My goodness, and we were like, wow, please, push this guy. Let's see a singles run for Montez Ford, and then as soon as Angelo Dawkins got back, they just put it back together, and it's been kind of downhill since then. I really want to see a Montez Ford singles run. I think he's seriously talented competitor. He'd be a great addition to the roster on the singles run. Angelo Dawkins at the minute, like you said, mid card. This new outfit at the minute, I mean, I had to laugh. Their new get up, their new gear. He looks like a dad that's dressed up as a Disney princess.
Yep.
What is he wearing?
Yep.
It does not suit him.
Nope.
At all.
Nope.
So yeah, let's get the profit split. Let's get Montez Ford on a singles run and see where we go from there. Next up, we had the returning Nikki Bella.
Woo!
Who, bless her heart, she's improving. I love her energy. I love her enthusiasm. I was really not looking forward to this return of Nikki Bella. I've got to be honest, I was not. I've never really been a Bella fan. I've not been a fan of when they've come back before, but I am actually enjoying, maybe for the first time ever, Nikki Bella. And she put on an interesting match with Becky Lynch. Not one of the best ones she's had in the last few weeks, to be fair.
So, I mean, first of all, I want to say I was completely wrong about this match on last week's show. We thought for sure that Nikki was going to win, and she did not, but it was a good match. I mean, when you put it on the standard of Nikki Bella as a performer in ring, it was okay otherwise. But the ending for me kind of fell flat. It was a little underwhelming.
Allie,
Okay.
I know you're a Nikki Bella fan.
I love Nicole Garcia Colas. I'm a huge Nikki Bella fan. Okay, but I am a realist, and Nikki Bella has aura, great mic skills, and she's improved significantly. It's almost like the Trish Stratus effect from when they started to where they ended up. Having said that, I could see the ring rust. I definitely could in this match with Nikki, and I think that she has the potential to kind of perfect that and keep going. The other thing I will say, having watched Nikki Bella and Chelsea Green a couple weeks ago, and it was Nikki Bella and Chelsea Green, I'm right? I think it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then watching this tonight, she and Becky don't have good in-ring chemistry. It's just not there, because her match with Chelsea Green, actually, she looked dominant. It was a really well done match, and it showed the skill, like her skills have improved. I will also say Becky did not sell a lot of Nikki's maneuvers. So Nikki had the rust, and we could all tell that, but Becky wasn't selling. So overall, it was just a mess to me. I don't even know if it had a good ending. It was just a mess from start to finish. And there were botches too.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because this one did make me chuckle. There was one that Becky did sell that perhaps she shouldn't have sold, because Nikki went for the disaster kick and missed by about probably 2 meters. It was so clear. It just, and Becky was just not sure what to do. She was there waving around like somebody had just, I don't know, blew in her face or something, and she couldn't make her mind up whether to sell it or like pretend she got hit or whether she should pretend it had missed. I actually found that hilarious. But yeah, Becky didn't seem to be into this particularly. No. I don't know why, because that is quite unlike Becky. And maybe it was because she had her eye on some other events that she would be involved with later on in the evening. So, yeah, Becky retains, but Nikki, she will move on. And you know what? Nikki is improving. And you're right, that Chelsea Green match, I thought she was really, really great. And I was listening to a podcast that Nikki was on the other day, and she was talking really brutally and frankly about coming back to WWE and the pressure that she felt on her. And she was really honest and candid about her situation, where she was at, how far behind she was, how the women's division has sort of moved on since she'd left. And she was completely like understanding and appreciating that, really saying, look, I'm here now, like, it's like the first day I walked through the door when I didn't even know what a wrestling move was. You know, I am like learning from the beginning again because these girls are so far ahead of me. And she was really honest about that. And I really, really liked that. It really showed me that her attitude and is in the right place, and gives me a lot of respect for Nikki Bella. And then she took that loss, which I thought she was going to take. Maybe that's on the back of hearing her say those words, because I think she's been quite honest about this run. You know, I don't think she's expecting world titles. I'm sure there will be a title at some point along the way, but I don't think she's expecting to lead this division. She's just not at the level of the competitors. I think she's just here enjoying herself.
Yes.
You know, and I think she's just having a great time, and I think that really shines through. And I think that's why I am actually, for the first time, really enjoying this Nikki Bella run. So fair play to her. Carry on, Nikki. Keep enjoying yourself, and please don't win the world title. Now, next we had an absolute banger. Surprise. From a man that is known for banger after banger after banger. Sheamus versus Rusev in a good old-fashioned Dana Brooke match. Was that right?
Donnybrook.
Donnybrook, sorry. Donnybrook match. Donnybrook match.
Okay.
Sorry.
Shout out to Zane, who made that joke earlier on in the Discord, and that made me chuckle. So I'm giving him credit for that. This was fun, right, guys?
Oh God, yes. I mean, I started off last week's predictions with this is going to involve shillelaghs and barrels, and sure enough, there were shillelaghs and barrels. And then the raging debate about whether or not they ever went into the crowd, which I was expecting them to do a crowd spot, but they didn't. We didn't get it. But you know, once I saw the barrels there, I was like, oh yeah, they're going through tables, and they didn't disappoint. It was rough. It was brutal. It was stiff. It was everything you expect from Rusev and Sheamus, and I liked the ending. I was shocked to see Sheamus tap out. Definitely.
Dave Meltzer gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and you know I love Dave, so we're gonna take his rating. I don't know if I'd give it that, but I also was kind of exhausted from seeing Rusev and Sheamus, and I was also rather involved in the did they go in the crowd debate, the polls, defining what match meant and crowd meant, whatever or not. But I mean, it was good. It wasn't my fave.
Yeah, for those not in the know, for our listeners, we had a little poll running last night, and one of the questions was, will this match go into the crowd? And there was a bit of controversy about whether this match went into the crowd or not. And Allie was quite vocal about her thoughts on the matter, and with her power of attorney managed to get the decision overturned eventually by scheming and
I left the vote to the people. I want everyone to know, and the people voted that no, it did not go into the crowd.
A purely democratic process, Allie, I'm sure.
It was democratic.
Yeah, this was good fun. Like I said, I'm not sure this was a 5 out of 5 match. I don't know how you give a Donnybrook, even any hardcore match, really a 5 out of 5. But hey, good on you, Meltzer. But I'm glad that Sheamus has got a five-star match. And for Rusev, well, that's one for the mantelpiece. Next up, we had John Cena versus everybody's favorite Japanese tourist, Logan Paul.
You're on a roll today.
I thought this was a great match, right? This was brilliant. And I've been saying this after each of the Cena matches recently. He is like that. There is no ring rust left on Cena anymore. He can go. He is putting on some vintage performances at the moment, and pairing that with Logan Paul and his athleticism, I thought was a fantastic pairing here. I really, really enjoyed this match. Perhaps one of Cena's, if not his best match of the year. And Paul's performance, again, as much as we hate to say it, he's a superstar. Perhaps not top 5 like Wade Barrett said, but he's still a superstar. What do we think on the Cena Logan Paul, guys?
So it was a great match, start to finish. I really enjoyed seeing Cena bust out a few new moves, like seeing him bring out a Styles Clash. That was really cool. I love that he's incorporating like homages to people he's not going to get the chance to work with, like he said in the post show. And he has been just going with the work rate too. His matches aren't like, aside from WrestleMania, they have not been bad matches.
It's true. This was my favorite match of the whole night, of the entire PLE. First of all, and Wade Barrett, it's Wade Barrett. I always get him confused with Joe Testosterone. But what he said is, you can hate Logan, but you have to admit that he's one of the best wrestlers we have on the roster. And I found that you really can't have a bad match with Logan, because he'll kind of work to your level, to your speed. And the fact that Cena really wants to have a good showing on his way out, plus that kind of consideration for the sport, it was fantastic. I don't have any bad commentary to say. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. Give it to them. Give them the award. I loved it.
Yeah. No, I agree. One thing I really noticed in this match, Logan Paul's facial expressions in this match were brilliant. Really, we know he's got the athleticism. We know he's got the moves. But you need more to be a really, a real ring craft technician. You've got to have the facial expression. You've got to have the emotions. And I thought we saw that on Logan Paul tonight more than we've seen in some of his other performances. He's top level, and we can hate him all we want, but he's got the goods. Absolutely no doubt about it. And like you said, whoever they put him with, it's a good match. And he's not being carried. He's not being carried by anyone. Nope. That leads us into our main event of the evening, a fatal 4-way for the World Heavyweight Championship. LA Knight, Jey Uso, and CM Punk facing the World Heavyweight Champion, the leader of the Vision, the visionary, the revolutionary, Seth freaking Rollins. I don't think anybody hadn't picked Seth to win this match. I think with Braun and Bronson banned from ringside, we kind of got the inkling that we were going to see a new member in the faction. But did we have any idea it was going to be who it turned out to be?
No. I mean, we were sitting here like discussing it might be Tony D'Angelo, or was it going to be Austin Theory, or was it going to be Ethan Page or Ricky Saints? No one had Becky being the one to be unveiled as the newest member.
Which is crazy, because right at the start of this, I thought this is the time that they're going to add in, because, this is the Seth Riders, right? So If you watch AEW, you've had the Death Riders, John Moxley's crew. They were, they're just beating everybody down. They're destroying everybody. This is the Seth Riders. Are doing exactly the same. The only thing that made them different is they didn't have a woman. So right at the beginning, I thought, okay, brilliant. They're going to bring in Becky. And then over the last few weeks, I completely forgot about Becky. And as you said, there was rumors about Tony D'Angelo sort of coming up. I was thinking maybe, is this where they're going to slot Trick Williams in, perhaps? Is this where they could bring in even Obafemi? I mean, could you imagine them bringing in Obafemi into this group now and how destructive it would be? He could just lay down that NXT championship and just walk over and join the Vision, and then they would be the most destructive group of all time. But no, that didn't happen. We have a master assailant enter the ring. Who do we think it was at first? At first glance, Allie, who did you think?
I just thought it was a really skinny man. I had no thought of what, or who the man was. I just thought it was a skinny man. So you have, Elijah. That's it. Really? Just a skinny man.
I mean, the only person that could have the only man I know of that could have pulled it off is Lio Rush, and he's in AEW, so...
My first thought, when I realized it was a woman, I think initially I thought, oh, is that Pete Dunne? I don't know why. Just, he was just short, maybe. Are they going to bring in the El Grandes in? That would be quite funny in the Vision. But then when I quickly realized it was a woman, I thought, is that Ronda Rousey? And then, no, thankfully not. Tore off the mask. Yes, it is Seth Rollins' real-life wife, Becky Lynch, who has been really putting in the heel work recently. I have loved this turn from Becky. She is doing some awesome stuff at the minute. I know some people aren't a fan of Becky. Some people aren't enjoying this. Me, personally, I'm loving this. I was a bit bored with the same stick, Becky coming back, and just seems like going around in sort of roundabouts, and she disappears for a bit, she comes back and does the same thing again. But I really like this turn. I like this darker sort of side for her. I think it's really interesting. And yeah, it was Becky. And we should mention what happened. Becky Lynch comes into the ring, reveals herself after low-blowing CM Punk in the ring. So let's talk through that. CM Punk GTS's Seth Rollins. LA Knight and Jey Uso, they're out. They're on the floor. Seth has just done the run around the ring and done a stomp on the concrete on both of them. So you know that they are not coming back into that ring. So then CM Punk's got him up for the first GTS, and you think, pin him. But then he goes, oh, pick him up for a second one. You're thinking, oh no.
Right.
This is where it's all gonna go wrong. So he picks him up for the second GTS, and then, boom, right from behind, the classic low blow from Becky Lynch, followed up by the stomp from Seth. 1, 2, 3, Seth retains. And that closes out our fantastic night of Clash in the Castle, a nearly 4-hour-long show. So, following on from Clash, we've just finished watching Monday Night Raw. I thought we had a super Raw, and I tell you what, the energy from that crowd tonight at that Raw was something else. They did not lose their voices at Clash in Paris yesterday. What are we thoughts on Raw overall?
Solid follow-up episode. Served a lot of storylines and teased something huge at the end.
I thought Raw was better than Clash. That could just be me, though.
Fair. I thought this was one of the much better Raws. I think we've been hip-hopping through the Raws recently. We seem to have a good one, and then we have a kind of mid one. Then we have a good one, then we have a mid one. Thankfully, this was the good one. Show opens with Punk. He's waiting backstage for Seth to arrive. Just waiting by the gate. Just wait for him. Can't wait to get his hands on him. But then Jey Uso opens up the show, coming through the crowd, and goodness me, what a reaction Jey got. What do we think of this Jey reaction?
It was great. I mean, France, if I'm not mistaken, France last year was where the Fireflies started with Backlash Lyon. He got the yeeting and the lights going. So it's kind of a full circle moment for him to have that huge reaction from the French crowd again. That was crazy.
I mean, they love Jey. That's all I gotta say. And that entrance is fire.
Absolutely. And his popularity is not dying down whatsoever. It is kept that momentum going, title or no title, it does not matter. And they will keep that fire burning hot for Jey Uso. He's going to have plenty of opportunities because he is selling lots and lots of merchandise. And if he carries on doing that and he keeps getting the reactions he's getting, they will have no choice but to push him to the moon. He is then confronted in the ring by a quite upset LA Knight, and we see a different side of LA Knight a little bit tonight, don't we? We see that he's really pissed off, he's nasty. We see in a bit of that TNA Eli Drake LA Knight shining through here. We haven't really had a heel LA Knight in WWE, and I thought for a couple of seconds there they were maybe just hinting at that. What do we think? Do we think that it's time to sort of change the marker with LA Knight and move him towards a sort of heel persona?
I think it freshened things up a little bit for me. It's, aside from his in-ring work, it's kind of gotten stale for him.
Agreed.
I think it's time for a character change up. Same thing with Sammy, same thing with Naomi before she became Proceed with Caution. Naomi, I think it's just time for the character to evolve, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, LA Knight, I don't think was supposed to ever really be a face anyway in WWE. I think he got over as a face organically, didn't he? I think the idea would be he would be a heel. Anybody that's watched his work previously over the years, most of the time he has been a heel. And for obvious reasons, by his mic work, he is an excellent heel. We haven't seen that side of him as LA Knight in WWE main roster. So I really want to see that. I think that could really revitalize what is quite a stale LA Knight right now. Let's turn him heel. We didn't see it tonight because they were interrupted by the Braun and Bronson, setting up a quite predictable tag team main event. The standard formula that WWE seems to be using recently is setting up these multi-man tag matches for these ongoing feuds, which have a lot of similarities in them and very, very similar endings. But yeah, that's what that set up. So we did end up at the end of the night seeing LA Knight and Jey actually team up against Braun and Bronson, and we'll come on to that a little bit later. What else did we get from them? Well, we got a European tour announced in January. So for our European listeners, some great news for you guys over there and for me here. This is because, of course, the Rumble this year is happening in Saudi Arabia. So it looks to me that they're doing the road to the Rumble on a European tour. They announced Raw and SmackDown dates for Germany. They announced a Belfast Raw show, and they announced a SmackDown in London show. And although it wasn't on the graphic, they did say at the beginning of the show that France was going to be getting a Raw in January as well. So I guess they just haven't got a date sorted for that yet. But so Germany, Northern Ireland, England, and France are all getting live WWE events, live Raws, live SmackDowns, and I guess there'll probably be some other countries along the way on there doing the house show tour while they're over there, and that's all leading up to the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. So that was great news for the European fans. They're definitely going to cash in on this, and it was interesting to see that they didn't have France on that graphic, and I wonder whether that was a bit of a last-minute decision, Sharp, to say, hold on a minute, we can't not come back here, can we? Because, goodness me, what a weekend it's been for the French crowd.
Yeah, and that was my initial, when they announced that, I was like, how are you going to announce a European tour without having a Paris show, given this reaction? It didn't make sense. And, so hearing that, later on they're saying they're going to get a Raw.
Well, it was actually, it was at the beginning of the show. Michael Cole sort of announced it. So it was before they did that announcement. They said, they just said, I don't know why they said it. I can't remember how it went into it. It said France is getting a Raw in January. So it almost sounded like it was something last minute, because when they announced all the dates and they had all the graphics that they didn't have France included, but they obviously changed their minds to the last minute and probably think of what you were thinking. How could you not come back here? And how could you announce these shows and not announce a France show? So next up, we had Raquel and Roxanne versus the Kabuki Warriors. what are our thoughts on this match, guys, and the possible ramifications for the women's tag division?
It was okay. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good match. Roxanne tapping to the Asuka lock, they're kind of showcasing a more vicious side of Asuka. Getting back to the Asuka's gonna kill you, Asuka, that we all know and love. And it was like I said, it was a good match, but it wasn't like one of those where I'm gonna be left with an impression. It was more what the Kabuki Warriors did later that I remember from this show.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Asuka winning by submission on Roxanne, I thought that was surprising to me. I wasn't surprised that Kabuki Warriors won, but I was surprised about the sort of method of the victory, especially with Roxanne, because she's been on such a roll recently. But you're right, this Asuka character, and we will go back to that because later on in the show we see Asuka approaching. Well, first we saw her approach Io when Io was talking to Nikki Bella, and she was very almost like abusive friend relationship type that you're not allowed to be friends with her. You can't be friends with her. We are your friends, and that sort of behavior. And you can see that Kairi is quite sort of uncomfortable by the situation. Then later on, we see another backstage segment where Asuka is really laying into Kairi Sane in quite an uncomfortable kind of manner, really quite an upsetting manner. I'm really interested to see where this is going, because for me this looked like we were getting a Kabuki Warriors sort of heel turn on Io, and then perhaps a tag match with Rhea and Io against the Kabuki Warriors. But this could go a completely different way at this point. What do we think?
So I was of the same mind that we're going to get the tag team of Io and Rhea against the Kabuki Warriors, but then like seeing the dynamic tonight with the abusive friend Asuka yelling Kairi every segment was a bit of a disturbing change. So I mean, you can see the conflict in Kairi and who she wants to support. Because she's
Kairi doesn't need to take this, right? She doesn't need to take this from Asuka. And what's the worst possible thing? She goes with her friend Io, and they just beat the crap out of Asuka, right? Surely that's the right decision.
I think they're kind of trying to break up the the second generation Damage Control and the Kabuki Warriors and have them all be on a singles run. I think that's where they're going, and I think the way and the progression in which they're doing it is actually well done.
Excellent. No, that makes sense. That makes sense because, of course, we have not currently got a women's champion, and then when we do crown a women's champion, we're going to need some good contenders and hopefully some newer contenders. And who would be better contenders for the likes of Kairi to get into that mix for the women's championship? Because we did finally get an announcement that Stephanie Vaquer is getting her world title shot, and it will be against Io Sky for the women's championship in 3 weeks at WrestlePalooza. How excited are we for that, guys?
I'm excited for the match. I still can't get over the name. WrestlePalooza. I mean, I know it's harkening back to an old ECW event, but like, if you're gonna go with that name, put the show in Philly.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. But no, I'm stoked for Stephanie versus Io. That's gonna be a low key classic, I think.
For me, I'm excited for the match. Also, don't like the name WrestlePalooza. Don't know, it just doesn't give. But I'm excited. I don't know who I want to win yet. I have thoughts on how it could go, but I'm just here for the vibes. We'll see how it goes.
And do we think there's any chance that Rhea somehow wiggles her way into this match and it becomes a triple threat?
No. The reason I say that is she's definitely going to face whoever wins here in Perth. There's no way you can't have her in a match for a championship in her home country. So I don't think she wiggles her way into this one, but she will be very soon getting a chance for the belt in Perth.
That makes sense. Makes sense to me. Finn versus Dragon Lee. I said if Finn loses this match, he's probably going to have to retire. I think the writing was on the wall when we saw Dragon Lee come into the ring without his wings, without his magical wings. I haven't seen Dragon Lee do anything interesting whatsoever. But since in the last few weeks that he's got those magical wings and the tail, of course, the tail giving him those extra superpowers, I've seen some really interesting stuff from Dragon Lee. But Balor did, in fact, get the much-needed win after a little bit of interference from JD, of course. Any thoughts on that match, guys?
It happened.
It happened. Yeah, pretty much. Next up, we had New Day and their new partner, Grayson Waller, who weighed, I love this, Big G Langston, he referred to him as, against the War Raiders and Penta picking up the win here for the War Raiders. What do we think of Grayson Waller with the New Day, guys?
My mom actually said, why don't they just save Grayson this embarrassment and release him? Or send him to SmackDown. Grayson is a really good wrestler. He's really developed his skills. At this point, I think he could actually kind of benefit from going back to NXT, not because he has to develop himself, but because he needs a storyline and his characterization actually fits well for over there right now. Or he'd do a little bit better on SmackDown. But Raw is really heavy loaded with male talent, especially in the mid-card, and they just have nothing for him to do. I love Grayson, but separate him from the New Day. This is kind of ridiculous a little bit to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because, you keep teasing with the big G thing. It's like, okay, is Big E coming back or not? Because that's the only thing that I want to see Big E versus the New Day. Grayson Waller in this equation, it doesn't add anything other than being a warm body.
And then we've got a new video package from the New Day at the end, almost teasing a sort of godlike cult-style sort of gimmick. They were in a sort of church. Grayson Waller was nowhere to be seen. So yeah, I'm not really sure how Grayson is gonna fit sort of into that moving forward. But yeah, for Grayson Waller, I love Grayson Waller personally. I'd like to see him do some good stuff. For me, bring back the Grayson Waller effect. That's what we need to see.
Yes,
that's what we need to see.
It should be a podcast. It should be. They have a whole podcast network now. Why is it not a podcast?
Yeah,
just saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Moving on, we had one of the biggest receptions, one of the biggest pops that I have seen for a wrestler in recent times. AJ Styles versus Dirty Dom for the Intercontinental Championship. AJ Styles comes to the ring, and we touched on this earlier. They were going crazy for AJ Styles, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
You leave him all.
There we go. Let's hear it, Ali. Come on. I had to ask what it meant. My French is terrible. Like, I was so rubbish at French in school. I did not care for French. I paid absolutely zero attention, even the most basic stuff. I said yesterday, I got a bit confused because I thought, why are they singing some of the chants in English and some of them in French? And Cookie says to me, no, they were just singing Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns. but yeah, we had a great match here. It really was a solid match. AJ Styles versus Dirty Dom. Were you surprised that AJ didn't take the strap here?
Yeah, I was very surprised AJ didn't win. But as soon as I saw El Grande Americano pop up, I was like, yeah, it's not going his way.
To be completely honest with you, and I think I said this before, I don't think that Dom's losing that belt until after Worlds Collide. I don't think so. I think the goal is for him to get the belt from the AAA division or company, and then also to have that and come back with it, because they want to elevate the belt in the company. So that I think after he loses that, then his Intercontinental Championship will go.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I didn't think Dom was losing here either. They want him to take that belt into World Collide. They want Dommy 2 belts because Dirty Dom is taking that belt from Vikingo, and the reason why is so they can give it back to Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's why. So what they don't want to do is their guy, Vikingo, be beaten by their real favorite good guy, Alberto Del Rio. Believe it or not, they need a heel face dynamic, and believe it or not, Vikingo and Alberto Del Rio is actually a face versus a face.
Yeah.
And they don't want to damage Vikingo anymore by putting him against Del Rio at this stage, because that harmed him when AAA got taken over by WWE, and they wanted to get that belt off Del Rio really quickly. They forced it onto Vikingo, and that really turned the people against Vikingo. And if you're in AAA, you do not want your audience to be in the Roman Reigns situation that we were in a number of years ago, and that's why I believe they're going to get Dom to take it off him, and then get Alberto Del Rio to come back and take it off Dom and do it that way. So yeah, he's holding on to that Intercontinental Championship, I hope, forever. If it was my choice, forever, until he gets the World Heavyweight Championship, of course. What do we have next? What else? What else am I missing on Raw? Dorkchop?
So we had a Lyra and Judgment Day segment. It kind of just happened, and now we're going to have Lyra going one-on-one with either Roxanne or Raquel next week. Bayley was mentioned.
And then we had CM Punk come to the ring just before the main event. He said he's not leaving the ring until Seth Rollins comes and meets him face to face. If he has to stand here all night, I'll take over this show, and I'm not moving until Seth Rollins comes and faces me like a man. So, Seth Rollins' music hits. Whoa. And who comes out?
Rebecca Quinn.
Yes, she does. Becky Lynch with her Intercontinental title, singing the song, doing the movements. And I was expecting Seth to do a jump from behind, but we didn't get that. What we actually got was something a lot more interesting as far as I'm concerned. I loved this. Becky went to the ring. She went face to face with Punk. And oh my God, she did not hold back.
No.
Me and my hot husband. Me had my hot husband. Have you seen my hot husband? My husband. I was like, what's his name? Ooh.
Oh, I love her. I love her. Every time she says, it says it in Sports Illustrated, I am dying.
I'm not the only one saying that.
I am dying inside. She is absolutely getting me at the moment, but she took it to another level. She got personal with Punk, and then she started laying her hands on him.
Oh, she smacked the
trying
crap
to get
out
him
of
to
him.
retaliate. She smacked the crap out of him, and he was doing everything he could to try and stay restrained, but she was hitting him, slapping him, and of course, what we all hope this is leading to is a return of AJ Lee. I think we're kind of getting our hopes up a bit. What do we think the chances are that next week on SmackDown, which, by the way, is in Chicago, we see the return of AJ Lee to WWE television?
Well, I think that they're going to blow the roof off of the Allstate Arena. I think that pop is going to be the biggest American pop you're ever going to hear.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows I'm bad at predictions, as shown this week. I say she doesn't come back just because she has said how she feels about the business multiple times. But we know that changes, especially when husbands are in trouble. So we'll see. We'll see.
We will certainly see. I think for the first time tonight was the feeling I thought, And I didn't think we were going to see it tonight. I didn't think we were going to see AJ Lee in Paris. I think lots of people thought she was just going to pop up and attack Becky, but I didn't see that happening. I saw it probably leading up to it, and I think if we do see it, we're going to see it very soon. I think we'll probably see it next week. And if we do see it, what does that lead to next? Now, I know the easy way to do it would be to set up a mixed tag match at WrestlePalooza. Seth and Becky against Punk and AJ makes complete sense. But we've got another match coming up soon, and that's War Games. And it's looking very, very likely to me that one way or the other, the Vision are going to be one half of that War Games match. What if in the men's War Games match, not only did we get the Vision with the man, Becky Lynch, but we also got the team of CM Punk and AJ Lee all in that War Games match together. Now, that is some fantasy booking and a bit of a stretch, but do we think we could see something along those lines, perhaps?
No.
No.
Mixed gender in the cage, no.
We have just seen Becky slapping the crap out of CM Punk.
And that was funny.
It was funny. But isn't it about time that WWE embraced men fighting women?
That's the day Reclusa rises from the grave. And Chelsea Green retires.
Nice callback. I love it.
Well, that was the end of that. What we were left with was Punk leaving, going after Seth Rollins, and by the time he got to the back, somehow Seth and Becky had both managed to escape in a car. Not really sure how that was possible, considering CM Punk was in the back before Becky had even left the ring. But somehow they magically escaped. That led us into our main event of the evening, the Bronze, the Vision Express, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker versus LA Knight and Jey Uso. A similar formula that WWE has been using, a multi-tag match to carry on these feuds. I have to say it's getting a little bit tiresome. I'm a little bit bored of seeing these people fighting each other on the same shows at the end. And the same thing happens nearly at the end of all of them, is that who comes to save the day? It's Mr. I only turn up with the credits with a steel chair, Jimmy Uso. Big Jim comes running to save the beatdown after a tsunami to Jey Uso. Big Jim comes running to the ring. This is after Bron Breakker's already pinned Jey Uso after a brutal spear to win the match. What do we think to the end of the show, and where do we think that leaves us next with The Vision versus Jey Uso and LA Knight? Do we see this continuing into something like Survivor Series? Do we see it going that far? Or do we start to see some more division perhaps between LA Knight and Jey Uso and see them going off in that direction?
I don't even know why they're together except for this ad hoc moment. I think they have no chemistry. I think that they just don't have the vibes. It's not immaculate. I don't like it. Send them in different directions. That's my conclusion.
From what I understand, they don't even like each other.
No.
Like, they legit don't get along. So yeah, let's put an end to this and let's move the Vision on to something else.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see what else they have, because they already have the heavyweight title. Where do we go next with Braun and Bronson? What happens with them? What are we going to do? I don't know. I hope it gets interesting. I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying the Vision. I can see the vision for it. I just want to see it go off in a slightly different direction and perhaps set up some new rivalries and some new feuds sort of moving forward.
I think as well, as much as I love Finn Balor, he and JD need those belts off of them, and I think this is a good opportunity to kind of have the Vision have the tag belts plus the World Heavyweight Championship. We need to move those tag belts along. You can't just keep pigeonholing Finn and JD with them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Agreed. And just to get Bron Breakker, spear JD, it might never end. It might, because we saw the Superman sort of Bron neckbreaker spear that he did on Roman at the end of Clash, where he just flew through the air for what looked like about 3 meters and just powered into Roman, and it was like he'd like shot him with a shotgun. Imagine that on JD McDonough.
Oh, he's going into the crowd.
Oh my God, he's going to the moon.
Yeeted.
It's gonna explode into like 5 pieces.
Yeah. Speed of sound.
Speed thought he had it bad at the Rumble. Like JD McDonough is like that. His bobblehead might actually pop off.
Yeah.
It might
Oh,
actually
no.
just be completely severed from his body, like when you drop your pop vinyl on the floor or something. It's going to be great. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic, guys. Look, we've gone quite long today, so I think that's all we got time for. Any other thoughts on the weekend in France before we finish up?
They need more shows in France. I mean, the crowd alone makes it worth the while.
I love the France shows, but I do think Lyon is a little bit better of a crowd than Paris. That's just me.
Well, thank you all for joining us today, and thanks for listening. We're going to be back very soon with our next episode covering all the WWE and WrestleMania travel tips that we normally get covered. There's been a lot of talk in the server the last few days asking about things like My Vegas and booking your hotels. If you haven't listened to the hotel booking episode that the guys did a few days ago, go back and have a sort of listen to that. Some really insightful information on there. Myself and Katie are going to be putting together a show on My Vegas rewards and comps in Vegas and how you can get the most out of your Vegas experience, the most bang for your buck, how you can get freebies, how you can get rewards. We're going to teach you all about that if you haven't been to Vegas before, whether that's your Caesars rewards or whether that's your MGM rewards. We're going to get that all covered off in one episode, and we're going to follow up with a load more episodes with all your travel tips in the run-up to WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, don't forget to follow us if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you found us. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment, and also find us on YouTube and like and subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon. I've been Daddy Dom. Thank you, Dorkchop. Thank you, Allie, for joining me today, and I'll see you all soon.